Increase your rank in the World Tournament by using this team. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are talking the 57th World Tournament. More specifically, how we can build ourselves a team in this post 10th anniversary year for setting ourselves up for the most success to grind out the 3-day grind that is the World Tournament. There are a couple things to factor in here, so we're going to show you the best options to run to build a team here, as well as a few free-to-play teams that you can run if you're somebody just starting and looking to get into World Tournament, so you can get all of those sweet rewards. After all, World Tournament does not only give out free tickets for summoning on guaranteed SSR banners and the Dragon Ball banner, which only comes around during World Tournament, it also gives you 50 free stones. So you do want to be at least trying to get some score. 23 million is usually the capping point for most players. So let's jump in, let's take a look. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to start by showing off my team and explaining what and who is on the team. So in this post 10th anniversary year, one of the best leads you can run for the World Tournament is now the AGL Vegeta, and that is because of his Pure Saiyans and successors lead, right? This simple lead covers everybody that you would typically run in a World Tournament. It covers the Int Piccolo Jr., the Broly, STR LR Broly. It covers the Grade 8 Vegeta. It covers Nappa and Vegeta, as well as the STR Nuking Piccolo. Now, these all of the units on this team have specific functions for this team. They are all characters with an all unit super attack, an AoE super attack. Each one of these units hits every single enemy on the field, and that is the key to the World Tournament. You need AoEs due to the amount of characters that are present on the field, and this is especially true in the later fights. You can't be taken down onesies and twosies, right? Now, specifically, this team is designed, one, to keep the most on the highest leader skill possible, but also, it's designed to be one of the fastest teams possible. Every single AoE on this team is a quick one. It'll be over in less than, a minute. Probably a little more than that, but it'll be over as quick as possible to get you on to the next round, so you can press forward and continue on to the next round and the next and the next and the next and the next. Because if you are going to be grinding out World Tournament, trying to hit top 10, trying to hit top 1 in your locals, or even better, trying to hit, top 20 in Worlds, right? You're going to want a team that can go fast like this. So each unit here functions quite well. Piccolo Jr. here, of course, has his active, the Super Explosive Wave. This is the quickest AoE to get you through the fastest, right? Key Orb pickup takes longer than activating his AoE. So if he's on rotation, you've got him to pop that active. We have the STR Broly, a very quick active. You only need, or not active, very quick super attack. Obviously, higher dupe levels is better on him. Mine's a low dupe level, so he doesn't work as well, but he is more specifically for another reason, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But he does, if you have high dupe levels in him, the extra boost in offense is appreciated because he only needs 12 key to launch his AoE. Grade 8 Vegeta, a little bit harder to get his AoE, although he will pretty much not die to anything, even in the later phases. So, I mean, you could he does get key on getting hit, and if any of the bosses are Goku, it'll be pretty easy to get his 18 key. His 18 key is needed for the AoE attack. And then, of course, you have the Nappa and Vegeta, also a very quick AoE attack. They only need their 12 key to get it, which makes it very quick to get, and they also launch a second and third possibly, which means that if you happen to not kill, although that does slow you down, you do have the chance to kill on the second super. And then, of course, finally, we have the STR Nuclean Piccolo. Now, he is an AoE, but he does have the nuking style passive. So you need the more STR orbs you can feed him in order to launch that AoE attack, the better off it's going to be. So he's kind of hit or miss, but he does work well on the team, even though he is a UR. Obviously, LRs are better, but in terms of speed and getting this done faster, he does work a little better. Now, the reason LRs are better, and I'll show you guys this on screen here in a second, right, as we go through the full explanation on why this team works. LRs are better typically because the higher your cost, team cost, right, every unit has a team cost here, right, like we can see the Nappa and Vegeta here have 77, right, every unit has a cost. The higher the team cost, the higher your overall score is going to be. Now, in terms of friend lead, it actually doesn't matter what you run for the friend lead, although I recommend, quickly popping in and grabbing a Piccolo Jr. for that second AoE, just in case you end up with a rotation. It gives you more chances to end up with a rotation where you can just pop his active and be done sooner. But in the grand scheme of things, right, if you're pushing top, top in worlds, the actual friend doesn't matter because more than likely you're just going to kill with the AoEs, and it's faster to just run the team and then maybe pop an item if you need to. It's faster to just do that than taking the time to pop into the friend screen and grab a new friend. But, that's ultimately up to you what you decide and what you're going after. In terms of items here, you want the Ghost Usher, you want the Takoyaki for the extra orbs, especially for Vegeta. He needs it the most, I would say, out of all of these. And then the Chilai. Although Chilai was mostly here when AGL Majin Vegeta was a staple on this team, but he's not really anymore, so you could easily swap that out for a Lemo, which gives you STR orbs instead. So you could do that. And then, of course, Tree of Might to help the fruit of the Tree of Might to help get that extra key when it's needed for guys like Vegeta. So all of these items help clear that out. Obviously, Ghost Usher is for the turns where you don't have Piccolo Jr. and you're not sure if you can survive the super attack. Now, why does this team work? Well, let's flip over here to Twitter. Shout out to Lotad for showing this up. So if we want to talk about why this specific team works, right, we want to look here at the post he made back in July of 2024. This was last year during anniversary when we had the World Tournament, and he basically put out a little how-to guide here on getting the best seed possible to get the highest score possible, and we're going to talk about what a seed here is in a second. So as he explains here, as you guys can see on screen, basically there is some correlation to the higher the team costs, but the worse teams with higher team costs can score worse because of time, right? So this is what I was talking about, right? Typically LRs are going to net you a higher score, but when you're talking about, hours and hours and hours of overtime of grinding World Tournament, the higher the team costs due to, animations, right? Especially like you think Piccolo has a very quick animation, the STR Piccolo we showed. You compare that to other LRs that might have an AoE, you could actually be slowed down and over time result in a lower, a lower score than having than just having STR Piccolo, who has a quicker AoE. So it's that's kind of the reason he points to that. Now, the points we earn in World Tournament are for defeating enemies, and it usually depends on rarity and level. So the higher the team, and outside of special bonus teams, right, the higher the rarity of the team that you're fighting, the better your score is going to be. Now, defeating enemies that are type advantage earns you bonus points, and it also activates as well as critical hits on your units. So whatever units you're running for World Tournament, you want them to be crit based. I mean, obviously that's not always ideal for a lot of units, and if you're utilizing these units outside of World Tournament, you may not necessarily have that build. So it is just something to be aware of, because critical hits activate bonus points for you, right? If you are keeping good pace, meaning you're not being distracted and you are fully focused in, you're earning about 4,000 points per second, right? And this is talking like getting way into the top, top 1 local, top top 100 worlds, right? Good pace to reach that, right, is earning 4,000 points per second, right? So when you're thinking about going for extra points, picking up orbs, or focusing on specific paths to grab like the extra bonus points on the map, you have to consider, right, the amount of time is it worth the amount of points you're getting, right? If it's not, then you're typically wasting your time, which could mean somebody could surpass you, right? Which is obviously, if you're going for the highest scores, what you don't want. Now the reason Piccolo Jr. works, right? One Piccolo and Jr. and 2 Ghost Ushers, you'll never ever lose, right? Never ever lose with a setup that has a Ghost Usher and 2 Piccolo Juniors. And the reason is, of course, right, Piccolo Jr.'s AoE is an automatic win, and then of course on the random chance you get no Piccolo Jr. on rotation, you just pop the Usher, and then whatever AoE you have on rotation will kill. You just don't have to worry. Although under the new 220%, more than likely it may not be such a bigger issue as it was before. Now, you also want to avoid other orb changers on the team, he notes. Specifically, anyone other than STR Piccolo, and that is because orb changing, right, that's more time that's being taken away from the final score. So you want to avoid that, and so that's why, right, you'll notice we have no other orb changers on the team, and instead we use the items. Okay, now, why this team specifically works, right? So this was after hours and hours of testing that he points out. The seed meta is basically determined by the team that you build, specifically in the order that we showed. And we'll show another team here that he had actually used when he wrote this, and then he's slightly since adjusted it since then. And I've been following along with this team, and I can kind of attest, I feel like, I mean, so far, it's keeping on pace with the team that I ran before. Now, basically, like I said, the enemies you face are tied to the team. The enemies a team faces are universal, so you can copy a team, any high-scoring team, and you will see the same exact enemies. Now, if your team has 4 to 5 AoE units, you use the last slot to re-roll your enemies by changing it to a different units between wins, right? So if you're not finding the high-ranking enemies with each when you load in, then just swap out your last unit to a different unit. When you load in on the screen, what you should see against whoever you're running against, you should see teams full of LRs and EZAs. If you're not, then you need to go back and change out your last slots. Now, you can see how well enemy scores points on the screen right after the KO. The battle score at the very top, right? So whenever you win, you look at your battle score, right? That's how much, every time you face that team, that's how much points you're going to get. Usually a maximum battle score is 39,000 points. Roughly, never quite 40,000, and a good battle score per run should be around 30 to 39k. If you're getting less than that, then you need to reset, or you're not going to be making it to the final rounds. Now, that means in like the preliminary fights, like with where you have like 4 fights, you should be netting in about 100k in that preliminary fight. If you're not, again, you need to swap out that last unit. So per win, right, per full round of World Tournament, you should be getting about 1.02 to 1.05 million points. So if you are anything less than 1 million per run, you need to swap the unit out. So that's kind of why the team build is the way it is, and the reason he went with, and we're not really going to go over this because we kind of already went over this, and that's the reason he developed this team here. The team you see here, and this was pre-EZA on the Tech Vegeta as well, the team you see here with the future Gohan, even though he's not on the lead there, actually resulted in one of the highest seeds, right, the highest loading in of enemies with the highest rating with that Future Gohan there. For some reason, Future Gohan seems to bring in those high-rated enemies. So Piccolo Jr. and then the rest of the AoEs are all pretty much the same, with AGL, Majin Vegeta being there as well. I don't think the specific composition of the 4 to 5 AoE units here matter so much as the final slot. Whoever your last slot unit is, I think, is what sets it up. If I'm reading what he said correctly, I could not. And if somebody knows in the comments, please feel free to correct me. But I think it's just the last slot that affects it the most. If the rest of these are the same, you should see very, very little variation. So now he did do an update here now that we are in the post anniversary, which is why I made this team with the team that you saw me running there. Same set of items. With a team under the AGL Gogeta. Again, the only thing changing the seed here is the STR Piccolo. We still have all the same units, barring the AGL Majin Vegeta, right? What he seems to have found over time is that AGL Majin Vegeta having also needing the Chi items, and now that items take longer to use, right? Since the UI updates, items actually have a longer animation now, along with the orb changing animation. It's actually easier and faster just to run STR Broly. They have the same team cost. It won't affect your overall score for that reason either. So STR Broly, as we mentioned, is probably a much better option. And he even took the time to graph it out. It does seem that between his team and another team running the previous setup he showed, it doesn't really, I mean, there is almost no difference, except in the later hours, where you see that his team seems to have sort of flatlined in terms of wins, right? Which is a good thing. That just means it's consistent in terms of the amount of points being earned over time, which means that as that continues, he's likely to continue to see, I don't want to say growth, but he's likely to continue to see his path to #1 in his locals, which he's probably already at, as well as #1 in the worlds if he can make it. Probably not fully #1, but he's gonna get close. And this competitive advantage, right, that's going to put him over someone running that other team. But that's not to say that that other team isn't good. So I mainly wanted to take time to share this update here because I thought it was interesting, right? Because I'm not sure how many people know about this effect, especially if you're somebody, you know, who is trying to grind out World Tournament and get to, you know, #1 in their local bracket. This will definitely help you utilizing a team like this. Now, I will point out that not everybody does want to do that, of course. So for those of you who are not into running the big teams, well, we went ahead and took the time here for you to build a few extra teams. So I wanted to show you guys those teams that we have here. So I put together a few different teams. Of course, you see the old Piccolo Jr. team here. Now, the next two teams here are pretty much teams that I think almost any player can build, right? These are your typical World Tournament teams, and they still work provided you're using the items. So the first one here is the Fizz Ginyu team, utilizing the Fizz Ginyu, the Fizz Krillin, the Int Raditz, the Fizz second form Frieza, and then Int, Chiaotzu, and Tech Jocko. Now, these two are summonable units. They are not free-to-play like the rest of these, but if you're a free-to-play player, you've probably summoned on a banner or two, and assuming you saved your SRs, you've probably got a copy of these two lying around. And it doesn't even matter if they have anything in them or not. You can see, like, my Chiaotzu only has 4. Their main function, if you didn't know, is that they have a guaranteed stun when they show up, right? So what this does is it'll allow your free-to-play units the chance to take down the enemy with their attacks. Now, you'll probably have to bring attack boosting items if you're running this setup, because they may not necessarily kill, but with both a Chaozu and a Jocko, I mean, while it will take longer as a free-to-play player, right, if you don't have the bigger units, it'll still get the job done, and it might take you all 3 days to get your 23 million to get all of the points and all of the stones, but it'll be worth it, right? Another good setup here is an old school setup, right? This is a team that I used to use. Pretty functional, and it does work pretty fast as well, and even more so now that Tech Vegeta has easy aid. But right, if you want an all types leader, you can run this guy, or the Ginyu or the Gohan. They all lead all types for 120, and then utilize Nappa Vegeta, STR Broly, Grade 8 Vegeta, and then of course Chaozu and Jocko. Of course, this is a lower overall scoring team, but again, the point is it'll get done what you need to get done to get your points. Now, I did want to show something off here in terms of other units you have the ability to use. So we'll show super attack and all target super attacks. Pretty much any unit you see here are units you want on your team. Not all are the greatest. Some work better than others, but most will get the job done. This guy works really well as a TUR if you have him, because he'll never transform, so he'll always have his AoE, and he launches multiple AoEs in a turn. So if you don't kill, chances are his next one will, if you have him. Same thing goes for this guy as well. This guy is actually really, really good if you don't have the ability to run a full LR team. This guy will blitz through the enemy, as long as you get his orbs, and because he is attacking all enemies, so he's a good option if you have him. And plus, I mean, he's basically free at this point, right? Some of you probably picked him up with your redstone during Worldwide last year or during Anniversary. AGL Majin Vegeta, as I mentioned, is still a good option. You kind of need to use Chilai in order to utilize him if you have him. This Boo is actually pretty good as well. If you're running the Tech Piccolo variants, and you don't have a full LR setup, this Boo can actually go on. He does have the same thing. He's similar. His animation is slightly longer than the Piccolos, but it's the same effect. All damage to all enemies and stuns. So same effect there. This guy can work. I don't recommend it. He's a lot weaker than a lot of the other options, right? If you have Piccolo or Boo, I would definitely recommend running them under Vegeta over this guy here. But I mean, if you don't have him, you don't have him. This guy does have an AoE, not as good. His can work under Vegeta as well if you need another unit. He does launch multiple AoE supers, but his animation is kind of long. So, I mean, if you're looking to speed through the score, maybe not the best idea. LR Cell can still work, but currently, right, with the best setups, he doesn't really have a team, unless you want to run the all types. So, I mean, that's kind of why he's kind of, I don't want to say fallen off. He's still good on the right setups, but on the two specific setups using Int Piccolo Jr. or AGL Vegeta, he's just not on the team. So that's obviously why that doesn't work. Cell Max can work. He does have an AoE on his 18 key, but it is really hard to get his 18 key, especially on a team that doesn't cater to him. So, he may not be the best option, but he is there. So, guys, those are pretty much all of the teams and units you want to run. I really wanted to just put out there this free-to-play team for you guys. It's not the greatest, and obviously if you have any of the summonable units to replace over the free-to-play units, it's obviously going to be better, but it can work. And then for those of you high-ranking players that maybe didn't know about this little trick, I did want to share these teams with you. This is the team that I have been running, and it is working quite well. I have managed to work through this and pretty much catch up, as you guys saw, to rank 6 in my locals, and I just started this morning after being late about over 18 hours to the tournament. Like, that's how fast this team works. So guys, that is it for the video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below let us know what are you guys running for the World Tournament? I know this was sort of a long-winded guide, but I felt like it was necessary, especially with the change to the updated team. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.